In 1938, in Korea, during the Japanese colonial period, a car travels to a school. The school specializes in medical care for girls and only accepts orphans and those with illnesses. Inside the car, there's a girl sick with tuberculosis named Juran, or by her Japanese name, Shizuko. She hopes that by attending this school, her illness will improve. Not only Juran, but the other students in the school also have their own illnesses and hope to recover here. When Juran arrives in front of the school, the students seem curious about the new girl, except for Yunduk, who feels indifferent about her arrival. However, one student, Yuka, feels unhappy because she has heard that the new girl has tuberculosis, which could be contagious. After Juran enters the principal's office, the principal, a Japanese woman named Sanai, comes to welcome her in Japanese. This is because in 1938, Korea was still under Japanese rule, so Koreans already spoke Japanese, and some Japanese could speak Korean as well, including Mrs. Sanai. Nevertheless, the school prioritizes speaking Japanese, especially during classes. Juran is then guided to explore the school by a female mentor who also acts as Sanai's assistant. Since the assistant has no given name, let's call her Mrs. Olivia. Juran then realizes that all the items in her suitcase must be thrown away, including her treasured diary. When Mrs. Olivia tries to dispose of it, Juran becomes unwilling to let it go, and she is slapped. Because the school highly values discipline, Mrs. Olivia explains that this is a school rule before taking her book. Afterwards, Juran goes to her dormitory room, where she receives a bed previously used by another student also named Shizuko, her Japanese name. Soon, Yunduk arrives to give Juran an introduction about her daily routines. Yunduk knows that Juran has been slapped, so she gives her a small red candy to comfort her. Juran then introduces herself to the other students in class before joining them in embroidery and meeting a fellow student named Kihira. Kihira explains that they're creating a map of Korea using Japanese cherry blossom designs, which will later be sent to Japan to compete with other schools. If they win, they may study in Japan, which Juran thinks has better lessons. Because of the strict discipline, the students must count themselves before going to sleep and eat a round-shaped snack, whose nature Juran cannot identify. While she sleeps, Kihira comes to her bed and leads her to a room where some students wait. There, Yuka, still unhappy with Juran, bullies her because of her tuberculosis. Juran begins coughing blood, but Yunduk arrives to stop them and orders them back to bed. Juran's coughing episode is reported to Mrs. Sanai, who realizes that Juran is weaker than expected. She informs her that 2 healthy students will be selected each semester to study in Tokyo before administering an injection to treat her tuberculosis. In the hallway, Juran encounters Kihira, who secretly observes her and becomes curious about her Japanese name, Shizuko. The name reminds Kihira of a former student named Shizuko, but suddenly, Juran leaves to go home due to her worsening health, which Kihira finds illogical. Juran's curiosity grows, but Yunduk diverts her attention by giving her a new personal diary. They go to a storage room, where Yunduk reveals it is a secret place filled with old items, including vintage music players. Yunduk gives Juran the diary, which belonged to the previous Shizuko, before they become closer friends. During physical education with Mr. Kenji as their teacher, most students perform well in jumping exercises, but Shizuko struggles to run and cannot jump at all, drawing laughter from others. At lunch break, Mrs. Sanai reminds them to take the daily medication provided by the school to strengthen their health, instructing them to continue following the regimen before allowing them to eat. During lunch, Juran asks Kihira about the former Shizuko, but this annoys Kihira and she attacks Juran. Fortunately, Yunduk intervenes, and suddenly Kihira convulses, as if about to turn into a zombie. After calming down, Kihira approaches Juran peacefully, pretending nothing happened. She admits she does not remember the earlier incident, which surprises Juran. Later, Juran and Yunduk go to the school rooftop. Juran asks about the area beyond the school, and Yunduk tells her that no one is allowed there, but she has heard that the sea is nearby. Juran becomes curious, confessing she has never seen the sea, and asks whether Tokyo is a beautiful place. Yunduk secretly takes her out of the school through the forest to show her the outside world. They arrive at a lake, and Juran is delighted, especially since the blood from her cough has disappeared. She expresses her happiness by running toward Yunduk on a boat, and they both fall into the water. This improvement in her health affects her performance in sports. She can now run and jump confidently, making Yuka unhappy. Juran silently thanks Yunduk for her support before sneaking into her blanket. One day, Yuka plays a prank on Juran by putting a dead bird on her clothes, telling her she looks frightening. Juran becomes upset and retaliates during lunch by putting the dead bird on Yuka's table. While enjoying her improving health, Juran attempts to look at Yunduk's diary and notices a torn photo and a fallen necklace. When she reaches for the photo, she also tries to take the necklace, but suddenly a hand quickly grabs it. Startled, she looks under the bed and sees a student with red eyes. Juran runs away, and when she returns, the girl has disappeared. Later, the other students realize that the girl is completely gone, and despite searching the entire school, she cannot be found. Mrs. Sinai immediately learns about the incident and clarifies that the missing student has already been picked up by her stepmother, instructing everyone not to worry. However, Juran decides to tell Yunduk what she witnessed about the missing student, which Yunduk responds by saying she does not believe her. Their conversation is overheard by Kihira, who asks Juran what the missing student looked like last. Before Juran can answer, they sense that the missing student is again under the stairs. Juran checks and finds a necklace that was stolen earlier, before finally seeing the missing student appearing near death. Soon after, she sees Kihira having another seizure, as if she is about to turn into a zombie again. Juran calls for Mrs. Olivia's help, but when they return to the scene, Kihira and the missing student have disappeared without a trace. She reports the incident to Mrs. Sinai, who calmly explains that Kihira went to another school that morning. The principal asks whether Juran really saw the missing student, and Juran responds that she may have hallucinated. This makes her suspicious about the strange nature of the school. She later shares her suspicion with Yunduk on the field, who still believes that Kihira was picked up by her mother. Then, Juran learns that the two students selected to go to Tokyo are Yunduk and Yuka. She admits that she also wants to go with Yunduk, feeling heavy-hearted that her close friend will leave. However, Yunduk's expression seems to reject Juran's eyes, making her think that Yunduk only considers her like the previous Shizuko, especially since her Japanese name is the same. To prove she is different from the other Shizuko, Juran decides to jump as far as possible, and miraculously, she jumps an extraordinary distance. Both of them are shocked and wonder what has happened, hiding from others. Yunduk suggests keeping a secret. Shortly after, Juran feels her body become heavy and hot while holding Yunduk's hand. This reminds her of the previous misfortune that befell Shizuko, so she refuses help. Feeling fully recovered after the sports incident, Juran informs Mrs. Sinai and asks for more injections. She then asks about the criteria for selecting the best student, which makes the principal laugh. Calmly, Sinai refuses to answer and tells her to leave. It is time for the selection of the best student this semester. Mrs. Sinai announces a change. Only one student will be chosen, and it is Juran. Yunduk becomes disappointed and leaves the classroom, although Juran wants to discuss it. Before she can act, Yuka, jealous, pushes her and questions what she has done. Juran becomes angry, breaking the glass in the back drawer. She loses control and lifts Yuka by the throat, causing Yuka to faint before Juran releases her. Soon after, Yunduk arrives, asking what happened. Juran says that she does not feel any pain, which reminds Yunduk of the past misfortune experienced by Shizuko. She then demands to know who Juran really is, but the teachers stop her. While accompanying Yunduk as she sleeps, Juran takes the opportunity to look at her diary. In it, she finds many names of Shizuko and a drawing of a box in the storage room she had seen before. She decides to investigate and discovers another torn photo, which turns out to be of Shizuko. Meanwhile, Yunduk regains consciousness after dreaming of Shizuko, saying the same words as Juran. She feels no pain after accidentally touching broken glass. Yunduk visits the storage room to inform Juran of Shizuko's past, which traumatized her. At that time, Shizuko complained of feeling heavy and hot and asked Yunduk for help, but Yunduk refused out of fear. Shizuko convulsed like Kihiro before, so Yunduk intentionally pushed her into a hole behind the box. Shizuko returned after asking for help, but strangely, she disappeared without a trace, causing Yunduk to feel guilty. The two decide to search for information about missing students in Mrs. Sinai's office. Soon, they hear someone approaching and hide. The visitors are Mrs. Sinai and Mr. Kenji, discussing a new medicine and arguing about it. After they leave, The two girls take the principal's key to open a secret drawer. Inside, they find a file about experiments involving human body modification, including the development of jumping ability and immunity to pain. They also learn that the experiments work best on underage girls, turning them into superhuman subjects. All of this is meant to create a super soldier army for Japan and serve as a major military breakthrough. Shocked by the school's true purpose, Juran accidentally turns on an old projector. The video reveals that the students were only test subjects to see who could endure the side effects of the school's super medicine. This process begins with recruiting sick orphans, having them consume the spherical medicine, and monitoring them through exercise. That is why Juran becomes the top candidate, as she shows signs of superhuman abilities from the experiments. Soon after the video ends, they hear screams from the students. It turns out that Yuka wants to the unthinkable by jumping from tall tree, but despite efforts to stop her, Yuka succeeds, and finally, she dies. The students are told to return to the dormitory, but Mrs. Olivia realizes that Juran and Yunduk had escaped. Mrs. Sanai slaps Mrs. Olivia before informing her that Mr. Kenji is pursuing the two girls. After running, Yunduk notices that they are approaching a village. Unfortunately, it is a Japanese military base, where the superhuman powers promised by the school are awaited. Mr. Kenji catches them, but they quickly resist and escape. Mr. Kenji does not let them go easily and shoots Juran in the back. Yunduk whispers something to Juran, promising to save her, before escaping from him after bringing Juran back to Mrs. Sanai. She protests to Mr. Kenji because he shot her. Fortunately, Juran is still alive and taken to the experiment room to be anesthetized. The same is done to the other sleeping students, who are given test medicine to see whether it works on Juran, before Mrs. Sanai returns to her office to meet Mr. Kenji. Meanwhile, Yunduk arrives in Mrs. Sanai's office to take a pistol from her drawer. In the darkness of the room, she notices a light shining from behind a cabinet, which allows her to find a secret passage to the experiment area. Upon reaching it and freeing Juran, she notices something that captures her attention. So she enters a room full of glass, but before she can act, Mr. Kenji suddenly appears and strikes her, causing Yunduk to faint. In her meeting with Mrs. Sanai, Mr. Kenji places the pistol he took from Yunduk on the table and announces that from now on, control over the experiments is under his authority, after reporting to his superior at the military base. Soon after, Mrs. Olivia arrives, revealing that she has been collaborating with Mr. Kenji all along. Feeling betrayed, Mrs. Sanai slaps her assistant before soldiers arrive to confiscate all of her property. Sanai begs them not to act, prompting Mr. Kenji to ask why she is so obsessed with her experiments. She responds that she wants recognition and to return to her country with dignity, as she is tired of living in Korea. Meanwhile, Yunduk is trapped in a glass box filled with water and chained. She screams for help until the water nearly fills the box. Shortly after, Juran regains consciousness and heads to the glass room. There, she finds it is used to store the bodies of missing students, including Shizuko, frozen inside glass containers. She then sees Yunduk's glass box, now filled with water, but tragically, she is already dead. Juran refuses to accept that her close friend is dead and becomes enraged, awakening her superhuman powers. In a hallway, Mrs. Sanai shoots at Mr. Kenji with her pistol after her plea is outright rejected. The shot misses, and his soldiers protect him, preparing to fire at her. Just then, Juran bursts through a door behind them, throwing a large door toward the soldiers. She begins eliminating them one by one, until she captures Mr. Kenji. Meanwhile, and finally, Mrs. Olivia goes to the students' dormitory to check on them. She finds several weak from the medicine's side effects, and many students gather around. They notice Mrs. Olivia, apparently furious about everything that happened, likely informed by Juran earlier. They go to kill her with a sakura flower used for embroidery, and finally, she dies. Only Mrs. Sanai remains in the school, attempting to call the military for help. Her effort fails as Juran approaches and lifts her telekinetically. Suddenly, Juran feels compelled to reach toward Yunduk, unaware that Sanai fires at her from behind. Fortunately, the shot misses and hits Yunduk's glass box, shattering it and releasing her body. Juran becomes even angrier, mentally throwing Sanai, then impaling her on a wall spike, and finally, she dies. The next morning, one student remains, still strong enough to resist the effects of the medicine, and becomes shocked at the surrounding environment after the previous day's incident. The silenced movie ends with Ju-ran deeply mourning her lost close friend, recalling a memory of the two of them in the storage room. And finally, she is playing a K-pop song on the old music player. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notification so you don't miss the latest recaps.